Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video I continue to build the Agora Models Shelby GT500 Super Snake. I am on Pack 7, so this video contains all the stages dealing with Pack 7. So, without further ado, let's get started.
The interesting thing about testing out high-performance automobiles is that you can only do it with top drivers who can take the cars right up to the maximum.
Welcome back. 9 stages are included with Pack 7. So we have stage 47 here through 51, and we'll look at these individually. And we have stages 52 through 55, so we'll look at these also. Stage 47, right rear interior panel. Stage 48, left rear upper interior panel and ventilation grille. Stage 49, lower dashboard panel, roll bar and seat belts. Stage 50, rear seat and seat belts. Stage 51, rear platform and seat back locks. Stage 52, left front wheel. Includes the brake disc, wheel hub, brake caliper, and hubcap. Stage 53, right front tire and rim. Stage 54, muffler and exhaust pipes. And lastly, stage 55, right front wheel parts. Let's get started with stage 47. And here's the parts pack for stage 47. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. I'm having a blast building this. So let me take these out and we'll get a closer look. And here's the right interior panel for stage 47, which is the first stage for Pack 7. And this is made of plastic. We also got the decorative accessory and the rear seat release lever, along with the MP01 screws. Let's get started. And the first thing we're going to install is the accessory. And that's going to go right there. You can see it's kind of keyed in. And only goes in one way. Just like that. I'm going to put one of those MP01 screws on this. And that's tight there. That looks good. Next is we put in the seat back release lever, and that only goes in one way, of course. And same thing, seat back release lever gets the MP01 screw also. And that's how that looks there. Looks great. That was the first 2 steps. Now we're going to install this onto the interior. And here's the interior right here. And just as before, it's going to simply mount up underneath here, just like that. flip this over on the side. There's a pin that it goes down on right here. And MPO1 screws go into this. Three screws, I believe. Yep. And one more screw. And you should be able to see that okay. And that's it. We put this this hinged panel that we put in before. It's the back side, this is the seat side, and this is the velour platform side. And that can go in really any time, but we can fit that in no problem right now, and that fits in just like that. And I think that folds up like that and like that. That's super cool. Looks like that and does that. Very cool. And that's all we do for stage 47. We installed that right rear panel and all the accessories that go with it. That was a lot of fun. And here's the parts pack for stage 48. And I'll go ahead and take these out. We'll get a closer look. If you haven't done so already, head over to agoramodels.com and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. I'm having a blast doing it. And it's very easy to build. So let me get these out and we'll get a closer look. So with this stage, we're going to assemble the right rear upper interior panel and ventilation grille. So this is the upper interior panel made of plastic. That's what that looks like. And the grille that goes on it is also made of plastic and it's chrome plated. Very nice. And the screws we received are MPO1 and MPO5. Let's get started. So we're going to install this grille onto the upper panel, and it simply just goes in one way. Kind of snaps in there anyway. But we put in 2 MPO1 screws into this. MPO1 seem to be a very common screw for this build, which is cool. And be careful you don't run these too tight because you could strip them out, so just stop when you get some resistance. And that is it. Looks great. Now we'll go ahead and mount this to the interior. Bring the interior over, and much like before, this is going to snap in on the end there, and this is going to line up with your holes on the back side. So that's what I'll do first, is I'll snap it in. Just like that. And then the holes are all lined up on the back side. And we put 2 MPO1 screws in right here. MPO5 screw goes in the smaller one here on the end. I'll do the MPO1 screw first. That'll lock that down. There. And lastly, the smaller MPO5 screw here. That's that. That goes in. There we go. Got some resistance and I stopped. Okay, so that is it. That's all we do for stage 48. I'm having a blast building this. Very easy to build. If you haven't done so already, head over to agoramodels.com and subscribe to this car today. And here's stage 49 parts. And got a lot of small parts in here. I'll go ahead and take these out. We'll get a closer look. If you haven't done so already, head over to agoramodels.com and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. I'll be right back. And here's a close-up of the parts. We received the roll bar itself, which is made of plastic. We received a lower dashboard panel and some seatbelt accessories. Both seatbelts, MPO1 and MPO5 screws. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to install that lower dashboard panel. And you can see it kind of sits lower. The screw holes for it sit lower than this edge of the floor. But I think we can overcome that. Simply put this panel in place. I'm going to have to put it in from underneath. There. That's how that looks there, that panel. So we'll put a screw in there and a screw in right there. Okay. And I'll just get it started. We'll put the other one in. And be very careful with this. Should pretty much feed itself in and not have any difficulty getting the screw in at all. So they recommend you can loosen these screws up and move the dashboard out of the way, then put it on. I super glued my sides right here and on the other side, so I don't want to break that loose, but the screws are going in just fine. Go. So that's great there, and that's what that lower dashboard panel looks like. Let's see if it looks like on that side. You can kind of see it there. There you go. Alright, now let's get on with the seat belt. Go ahead and get started with these seat belts. Now these belt retractors are marked left and right, and you can find that marking on the bottom here. So this has an R on it, so this is the right one. Of course this should be the left one. Yep. Okay, so they say there's a right side and a wrong side to these seat belts. They are both the same, but what they mean by right side is this side here, the wrong side is the side that is actually glued. So you can see the belt is wrapped around here and they glued it in place. That's considered the wrong side. So what they want us to do is slide this in to the retractor, take a little coaxing here to get it in there. There you go. And flip this around so it's can't slide back out. Just like that. Okay, so it should look like that. So there's one. I'll do the other one. Oops. And actually they just tell us in the instructions to go ahead and I'll do the other side off camera, but we'll go ahead and hook this up to our roll bar. So we should have the right one. Yep. And the right one is going to go on this side here. So that's going to mount just like that on the right side. An MP05 screw is going to go into this. And the screw goes in very, very easily. The engineering on this is second to none. It's pretty nice. I like that. Of course, that's what your seatbelt should look like. Do the same thing on the other side like we did this one. Make sure the wrong side is facing the other direction on the bottom, which it is. Wrong side is the glued down part of the strap. So we'll put that in. See how that is there? Make sure we're situated like that, and we'll push this through. Okay. And take and flip this over so it lays down. Just like that. Put that on the roll bar. This is the left side now. And there it is. And there's your roll bar with the seat belts. Looks great. Next I'll affix this to the interior, the roll bar to the interior, and it slots into this right here on the side panel in the back, and on the same on the other side. just like that. That roll bar gets secured with MPO5 screws. And it will secure down here. Great. Next, these seat belts go over the seats and they go into some slots on the floor, it looks like. Yep. Okay, so seatbelt goes into some slots on the floor here. I use my Tamiya tweezers to get it in the slot there. There's one there. Wraps around. You can see it right there. It's going to wrap around and snap into that little tab. Just like that. Got the other one on the other side. Go through that slot on the other side here. Flip this over. Alright, so you can see it sticking through right there. There we go. And push that down on that tab also. Perfect. And that's how that seatbelt looks. I'll do the other side and I'll be right back. And Agora does recommend you can go ahead and super glue those in place so they don't become loose later on. And my preferred super glue is this Loctite super glue. Take my glue looper and fix that. Super glue is great for securing metal to plastic and material also. And there you go. And there you have it. Stage 49 is complete. We installed the roll bar and racing harnesses, seat belts for this, and also that panel on the front here, which was very easy to do. Didn't have to take anything apart to do it. And here's the parts pack for stage 50. This time we received the rear seat and the seat belts for it. So let me take the parts out, we'll get a closer look. If you haven't done so already, head over to agoramodels.com and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. Let's get started. And here's a close-up of the parts we received with stage 50. And here's the rear seats made of plastic. It's already pre-assembled a little bit there. There's two pieces sandwiched together there. Looks very cool. And of course the seat belts for it. And very nice Cobra logo on these seatbelt buckles and MPO1 screws. Let's get started. And a pretty simple operation here is the big thing you want to make sure you do is when you install the seatbelt here with the buckle, make sure the buckle is facing up. So when you put it in, just kind of lay it in there like you see there. Put the buckle up. Now push it through with my tweezers. Flip it over, and this should snap on the tab just like the other ones. And we can super glue that later just to make sure it won't come off. And that's how that seat belt looks there. Okay, and that's how that seat belt looks there. And how it's snapped in place there. Same thing here on the other side. Feed that through. Push it through. And snap that down also. Okay. The next ones, they simply snap in on the sides. So we want to make sure that our glued side is towards the bottom. Just simply going to snap that in there. Just like that. And do the other side. Make sure my glued side is towards the bottom. Oops. Yeah. Actually, the glued side is going to be towards the bottom of this because when it wraps around, then you don't see the glued side on the buckle on the other side. So, glued side would be down up against the seat here, just like that. And then when it wraps around, you don't see the glued side of the strap. And that's how that should look. I'll go ahead and glue those down. With my super glue that I like to use. And we'll just fasten that down. Also hit the strap a little bit to keep that locked in place. And the buckle on the plastic. And that should lock it in. Now we will install that into the interior. Okay, so we'll put this seat in just like that, making sure the seat belts are all exposed, and they are. And we'd be putting MPO1 screws on it. Flip this over. We put 4 MPO1 screws on. And they go in very easily. Locked in. And one more goes in. Perfect. Turn this over, and that's how that seat looks with your seat belts. Perfect, huh? And back to stage 47. We put this this hinged panel that we put in before. It's the back side, this is the seat side, and this is the velour platform side. And that can go in really at any time. It was kind of better to wait, not to have it in yet, because we were working on the seat belts in the rear seat. But we can fit that in no problem right now, and that fits in just like that. So I kind of waited with this, but I'm going to show this in stage 47. I'm actually doing this right now in stage 50. And I think that folds up like that and like that. That's super cool. Looks like that, and does that. Very cool. And that's all we do for stage 50. Having a blast putting in this interior, doing the last stages of the interior. It's great. I'm enjoying it a lot. Welcome back. We are on stage 51, and these are the parts for that. This is the rear panel, and we'll get that assembled here in a second. I'll take these out and we'll get a closer look. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. Be right back. And here's a close-up of the parts. We received the seat back platform and seat back locks, and this seat back platform has a nice velour plastic part here, nice chrome plated part here, and MPO1 and MPO5 screws. I'll be right back. Alright, so we're going to assemble this velour panel, and it's simply they want us to put it down just like that and make sure we line up the holes. Really can't go wrong when you do it that way. And that's how that looks, just like that. And then we're going to install this in the back of the car. And there's the back of our car. And these holes will line up with the bottom here, just like that. MPO1 screws will go into that. So flip this over. Just like that. And the other side. Looks good. Next we'll put in these latches, and they simply line up one way. There's a tab that sticks out just like that, and you can see how that looks. And we'll put an MPO5 into that on the back side. Perfect. Do the other side now. There it is. Flip it over, holding it in place. And MPO5 once again. Very cool. And it looks like that's all we do there. Looks great. That's how they look. And there you have it. That's all we do for stage 51. It's a blast putting this together. I'm enjoying it very much. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. Welcome back, and here's the parts pack for stage 52. This time we received the wheel and tire, spindle, brake mechanism, hubcap, and got another screwdriver in there. So if you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. So let me get these parts out and I'll be right back. And here's a close-up of the parts. We received the tire, which is the Goodyear 4-ply. Very cool there. There's your tread pattern for that. Very nice. White wall tire. And we've received the rim, or the wheel itself, made out of metal, very heavy, heavy duty. Very nice finish on that. And the backing plate for the brakes, the brake caliper, another screwdriver, the spindle, and the hubcap has a very nice Cobra logo on it. I'll give you a close-up of that. And MDO4 and MDO2 screws. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, we need to put the tire on the rim, and it's just not that easy to do. The tire is really not that pliable. It's pretty hard. So it's recommended that you take this tire, and I'm gonna put it in some boiling water downstairs in my kitchen, and I'm going to bring it back up in some aluminum foil, and we're going to slide it right on. It should work out very nicely. So they say to put it in boiling water for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll be right back. Fresh out of the boiling pot is the tire. Very pliable, so we'll put our wheel into it. Just like that. And that is perfect. That's how that looks. Now in step 2, we'll assemble the wheel hub and brake disc cover. And so the way you do it is you line up your two tabs here on the spindle here, and you have a hole there, a little tiny hole right there. That needs to line up on the cover. There's a little mark there. Okay, kind of lines up with that. So stab this through like that. Just like that. You can see that small hole there lined up with that little tiny tab right there. Okay. Now that that's on, we can go ahead and put our brake spindle on, just like that. And we're going to put our brake caliper over the top of that. And brake caliper is going to slide over the top of that. And we're going to put MDO4 screw into this. And I'm going to use a smaller screwdriver for this because the MDO4 screws are tiny. So this is a PH00 screwdriver. You can get this on my Amazon store. Just look in the shop in the model accessory area in my store and you'll find a PH00 screw. Look at that. It's small. And we're going to put that in. Make it so you can see it on the side camera. And that's tight. There we go. And that still turns on the spindle there. Okay. And here's that small screwdriver they gave us. But like I said, I think the PH00 screwdriver has a sharper tip to it than the one they gave us. So next we're going to put the wheel on, but before we do, I'm going to go ahead and grease it up with some Vaseline, my favorite. Very safe to use, hypoallergenic, won't harm you in any way like any of the other oils that are out there. And I'm going to put in a lot here. I'm going to put it around the axle too. Okay. And where we put our screw hole into. So put a tire on, and it needs to line up with, there's a notch inside the rim. See that notch right there? You need to line that up with the notch that's on the axle. And there we go. MDO screw will go into this. MDO2 screw will go into this. Now I'm using the bigger screwdriver now, the PH00 screwdriver for this, and we should be able to drive it home with no problem. It is tight and it still spins. Great. Perfect. That's how that looks. And we put the hubcap on, which I think looks fantastic. And I'm not gonna put it on tight so I can take it off later. But that's how it will look with that hubcap. And that's all we do for stage 52. Had a blast building this. I'm really liking this. This tire and wheel combination is really nice. Welcome back, and here's the parts pack for stage 53. This time we just received the wheel and tire, and I'll go ahead and take these out and we'll get a closer look. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. I'm having a blast building it, and it's really easy to build. So I'll be right back. And here's a close-up of the wheel and tire. Famous Goodyear white wall tire that they used on the Shelby Cobra. And there's the tread pattern for that. It's not very pliable. And then we have the metal rim this goes to. And very nice there, nice finish on it. So I need to heat this up in some boiling water for about 3 to 5 minutes. I think I did it for like 3 minutes last time. And I'll bring it back up from my kitchen and we'll show you how to install this. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the kitchen. I removed the tire from the boiling water. And it should be nice and pliable now, which it is. So we'll put this in. Very easily done. And there it is. Looks very nice. So let this cool off a little bit and we're done with that. And that completes stage 53. It was a lot of fun. I really like this wheel and tire combination, and I think it looks fantastic. And welcome back. Here's the parts pack for stage 54. We have the exhaust system here, the muffler and all that. So I'll go ahead and take these out and we'll get a closer look at them. Also in this stage you'll need a good X-Acto blade because we're going to be stripping off some of the chrome so we get a better glue joint, and we're going to need some super glue for this. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. Let's get started. And here's a close-up of the parts for stage 54. We have the top and bottom muffler parts. We have the intermediate pipes, left and right. We have the right tailpipe and the left tailpipe. And then we have the exhaust tips. And the screws we received are MP01 screws. Let's get started. Step one, we're going to put the muffler together. And that simply just goes together here. Note that one side is wider to the edge with the hole alignment and the other side is narrower. So you just want to make sure you line that up like that. Which is perfect. And we'll put MP01 screws into this. Good there. And that looks good there. And next we'll fit the left and right exhaust pipes into the muffler here. Next I install the intermediate pipes into the muffler, and simply goes down one goes there, and that one goes there. Then the exhaust pipes themselves, want to make sure this faces down, so this one goes in there next. Like that. And like that. Okay. That's how that looks. It's a little confusing, but if you look on the side, that's how it should look. Okay, with all your mount holes on the bottom, just like that. So it just takes a little bit of playing with. It's kind of hard to figure out from the illustrations. And the next thing they want us to do is attach these tailpipes. But before we do, because the tailpipes get attached here on the end, they want us to strip the chrome off. So I just take a little X-Acto knife and go around and strip the chrome off. So the way the glue adheres a little bit better. Okay, that's good there. Do the next one. Very cool there. And that should be good. And just like it sits like this, tailpipes are going to face just like that, because when it's under the car, they're going to be like that. Okay. So we're going to put them on. And they are keyed in, so they only go on one way anyway. There's a flat edge. Take my super glue. Pretty much just dip it in there. And glue it in, snap it in. There's one. And key the next one in. There we go. Okay. And there you have it. That's all we do for this stage, stage 54. It's a blast putting this together, and we'll put this aside to when we install it on the chassis. Welcome back. And we are on the final stage for Pack 7, and this is stage 55. Here's the parts for those. I'll take these out in a second. We'll get a closer look at them. If you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. I'll be right back. And here's a close-up of the parts. We received the brake backing plate, the brake caliper, the brake disc itself, the center cap, and I'll show you a close-up of that, and very nice and well detailed there. And of course the spindle, and that's made of metal. Everything else is plastic. MD02 and MD04. Let's get started. Well, we'll line up the backing plate to the spindle, and we want to make sure that when we put the caliper on, it's going to be lined up with that little tiny hole there. So we're going to flip this over, and it should be on right there, lined up, just like that. And then we'll throw our brake disc on, like that. And now our brake caliper, we'll line that up over the disc, just like that. And we're going to put our MD04 screw into this. For that, it's a very tiny screw. I'm going to be using my PHOO screwdriver, and you can find this in my Amazon store. MDO4 screw, very tiny. And put that in until it's tight. Feels tight, everything rotates, looks good. Next we're going to put our tire on, our wheel and tire, but before we do, we need to grease that hub. I use Vaseline, very safe to use, hypoallergenic, very nice, and I'm going to put a bunch on. I'm going to put it in the hole and around the axle. And we got to line the wheel up to the back side of the wheel. Has a notch that lines up to the notch on the rim, on the brake disc, and that's there. And go ahead and put a MDO2 screw into it. Lock it down. And there it is. Still spins. And lastly, put the Cobra cap on. I'm not going to put it on tight for now, but that's how that looks. And that's all we do for stage 55. Having a blast building Pack 7. This is the last stage for Pack 7. So I've enjoyed this immensely. Can't wait to get the other packs. So if you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic. It's going to be huge. Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video I continue to build the Agora Models Shelby GT500 Super Snake. Now I'm getting ready to start on stage or pack number 8. Now pack number 8 has a lot of stages built into it, and I had a lot of fun building it. However, I need to jump back just a little bit and complete stage 55 from pack 7. Now I didn't notice at the end of the build for stage 55 there were 4 additional pages for assembling the front wheels and tires onto the chassis. I totally missed that, and I apologize for that. So this will cover stage 55 part 2, which includes assembling the tie rods for the front tires and installing those front tires on the front of the chassis. So without further ado, let's get started, and I'm glad to be back. We're going to go ahead and attach the front wheels, and this doesn't have a stage to it, but it actually follows stage 55. So in this case, we're going to need the chassis, and we're going to be installing the front wheels on the chassis, so have that ready. We're also going to need both front tires and wheel assembly, so we received one of them in stage 52 and the other one in stage 55. That's both of these. We also need the tie rod assembly from stage 30, and that's this right here. And then you're going to need 6 MDO2 screws, so you should have had 2 extra from stage 29, 31, and 32. If you threw your screws away and you don't have them, you can contact customer service at agoramodels.com and they will send you the screws. So right now we're going to set it up to install the tie rods on these wheels and tires. And if you set it up just like I did here, so let's look at this closely. We'll keep it as simple as possible. And going by the illustration that I have in front of me, I can take and install my tie rods on my left and right tires. Now if you take your tire and you line it up with your brake caliper on the outside for both sides, just like that, facing downwards, we're going to put our tie rods on it just like that. And the screws we use, the MDO2s, have a flange, so they'll simply screw on there very easily. So since we're putting screws in metal, we want to go ahead and use some Vaseline. To lubricate up everything. And that's my lubrication, is the Vaseline. So, and I do use these little micro applicators, and you can find those on Amazon. And I believe my Amazon store still works. Somebody told me it wasn't, but I think they were doing maintenance. So I put a link in the description below on how you can get to my Amazon store. And I'll go ahead and lubricate these. Both of them. And we'll do one side at a time. So you definitely want to have on the right side here, you want to have this tie rod that has a little cooler on it, or has the grid for the steering. You want to have that situated like that, and you want to go underneath just like that with it. MDO2 has that flange, and we'll secure that down with an MDO2 screw. And just to make it easier, I'm using a Wera PH1 screwdriver. This is the larger one. It's actually going to make it easier for us. And that one's tight. And we'll do the same on the other side. Move that out of the way. Put this there. And it goes right up against the flange. And once again, MDO2 screw into that. And that's tight. And I have been saving all my screws. They're in a nice little screw pill box that I got from Amazon. So it keeps it all organized for me. Bring the chassis over. So I'll bring the tires over and the tie rods, and you can see the gears here. These mesh gears will line up with the steering mechanism over here on the right side of the chassis, or it's left to you. And we're going to mount these on the A-arms, lower upper and lower A-arms. But first, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and lubricate those holes once again with some Vaseline. So I'm going to be doing this to both sides, top and bottom. the other one here. Okay. Bring the chassis back over. And I'll turn this over just like we have and slide this into place, both sides. There and there. Okay. MDO2 screw goes into these on both sides, and we'll put the screw in there. And that's tight. And I'll do the other side. And you may not be able to see it, but the screw is going in very easily. Okay. Turn it over, do the top. That one's in. And do the other side here. And the other side's in. Okay. So I'll do one side at a time here. MDO2 goes in on top also here. One there. And the other side here. And it's tight. There we go. And we need to get our steering hooked up. So I'll take this side loose over here. And I'm going to slide that in. Got to take both sides off again here. Doing double work, but that's okay. Take that loose. And put that in. that back in, and right on top, and right on top. Okay, so now we're back in business. We have our steering dampener installed, and we'll put our screws back in. Here's one. And there's two. Okay, so now our steering is in place. Very nice. We turn it over. And that's all we do with this stage for attaching the front wheels. So that's all complete. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for all notifications. Head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this car today. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.